Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for making it. I know it's Monday night. Sometimes it's a real struggle after work to do it, but we're here. We made it. So this class is live, which is great. And you have the benefit of asking me questions. So we have a chat down below. You can ask questions and I will answer them at the end of the class. And you may find that I answer them as we're going through it, but if not, go ahead and drop those in the chat, and then Chanel, our awesome moderator, will read them to me, and we can go through them together at the end. And they can pertain to this class or anything, watercolor or cut paper, since that's the media we're working with today. All right, so I'm gonna go through our materials and then we can get crafting. As you probably know, since you signed up to this class, you're here. Everything you saw, everything we're using is from Michael's and it's listed on the class. So I went ahead and listed everything I bought for this, so you can do it along. All right, this is paper and watercolor. So we have this watercolor set. It's fabulous. You don't have to have this one, but this is just one I use. It's really nice pigmentation for the price. It's got all these fun colors. But I will also talk about how to mix these colors so we can match, and we'll talk a little bit about color mixing in general. With that, we need some brushes. So I set a set of Filberts, and Filberts are great. You can use flats, you can use rounds, but I like Filberts. They're just nice to have, and that set was really affordable. Prismacolor, this is where we're getting that pencil line that's really beautiful. These are some of my favorite tools. I use these all the time. They're also available in a very thin, which you can see the point is very thin. Love that. But they're really high quality color pencils. Knifey, gotta have one. It's a utility braid, and we'll talk about the basics of how to use one without fear and without losing fingies. Super glue and hole punch to make these sweet little snowflake shapes. Super glue for gluing. Yeah, you guessed it. Everybody's smart. Okay. You also are able to print out the same snowman I drew, and we'll trace it, and we'll talk about how to get that onto our watercolor paper. You can also draw your own because this is your craft. This is just a jumping off point, so you can have yours look like mine, or you can have yours look like whatever you want. We also need tracing paper, though. That is key for getting whatever we draw onto our nice watercolor paper. Watercolor paper. It's for paper, for watercolor. So this is something that's got this really nice texture. It's thick. It is not just a marketing thing. It is something that's designed for watercolor, because watercolor, right? It's got so much liquid. We need some kind of substrate that'll really soak that up and not ripple or wrinkle. So there's something, there's lighter thicknesses of paper like sketch paper. You'll see the GSMs. All that means is how thick or thin it is. And for watercolor, when you're using that, it is something that we definitely want to use, so we don't ripple our paper, wrinkle our paper, and cry because everything we painted is wrinkled. So we love that. And then our cut paper elements, we have our knife, and then we have a cutting mat. So it's a little expensive if you buy one at first, but then you can use it for years. So it is a nice investment. I've had this for many, many moons. And the one I linked is something called self-healing. So when you cut right into it, like your cutting board, it won't leave a mark, right? When you have a wood cutting board or a plastic one and you cut it and then you see inside, this one will kind of magically heal that. So it is worth having. I linked one, I believe it's Fiskars. Anyone who makes blades or scissors will have a good cutting mat. All right, so that's important. And then when we're painting, we need a palette. This is just a simple melamine palette. Melamine is a type of plastic. It's really inexpensive. And then watercolor, we always need a cup of water. That's how this works. And paper towel. Every time you're painting, just have some spare paper towel for spillage, for drippage. Just cover your bases and have a couple sheets next to you. Make life easier. And lastly, almost last, ruler. We need a metal ruler because we're cutting with a utility blade. We do have to have a metal ruler, preferably with some kind of cork back, because if you're using something like this plastic ruler, we love it, it's see-through, But when we're cutting, we can, two things, we can take our knife and actually cut into the ruler and ruin our straight edge. We also can have this move on us and potentially cut ourselves. So when you're cutting with a metal blade, always use a metal ruler. They match, should be easy to remember, but they've got the grip and we won't hurt ourselves. Lastly, there are these really fun papers that Michael sells. So they have these little single sheets. You can pick whatever style you want. I really like this glitter because it's so festive and holiday, and also it doesn't get everywhere, which is, you know, sometimes part of glitter objects issues, but this stuff is really adhered well. So I've enjoyed playing with it. And then this stuff has a really beautiful sheen and shimmer, and it comes in other colors, but I found this really pleasing and wintry. So you can pick those out yourself. Again, this is, you know, this is your craft. These are just starting off points, but here's everything I use so you can pick and choose what you want to do. And then the template for the snowman should be in the class listing as like a downloadable PDF.
Hey, Lauren, it's not. It wasn't included on the website. Do you have
Link?
that? So I can, yeah.
I do, yeah. Let me drop this in. Sorry about that, y'all. Sometimes we get little technical difficulties. Let's go into my desktop. Painting. That's for acrylic. Well, that's good. It's not where it's supposed to be. So Chanel, let me circle back. And then we're also able to link that to the YouTube, right?
Yeah, usually it is included in the description on the YouTube. You might just want to let Maddie know so she can include it.
Okay. Yep. Sorry about that, y'all. So the good thing about this is that this ends up on YouTube the next business day. So I'll make sure that the PDF template is attached to YouTube so you can go ahead and download this. And I'll look in a second while our paint is drying. But yeah, apologies. Looks like it did make the upload. Okay, so we've got everything. Let's get going. And so when you do have it, you can make it. Okay. So we're gonna grab our watercolor paper. You'll have printed this out or drawn your own. And all we do is take our tracing paper and a pencil, and we're going to just go ahead and trace with our pencil lead this shape. And then when we flip over our snow person, we're going to trace it on the other side, and that's going to put down that lead. So now when we lift the paper up, we've just transferred it, which is fabulous. So since I've already drawn this and traced it, I already have pencil lead once on my little person. Right? So I'm going to take the lead that I already have, and I'm going to flip it over. So you can do this with anything you draw, right? We're just using tracing paper and a pencil. And I'm just quickly redrawing, retracing really. This little melty person. I like to hold this down pretty well, and then I like to lift up just to make sure it's adhering. Looks like it is, and I'll just push down extra hard so y'all can see these lines. Now, when you're doing this for yourself, it's nice to have softer lines since we're just gonna paint over them anyway. Draw their little heart. before I lift the whole thing up, I'm just gonna hold it down and still trace and see, oh, I missed a line here. No problem, let's just throw it back down and trace that. Because if you take the whole thing off before you missed a line, it's pretty annoying to realign it. Not impossible, but a bit of a pain. Looks like the face is good. Over here. And grab this last line. All right, we've got him. Okay. Since we're on Zoom, I'm just going to darken these lines so everyone can see. But when you're doing this, there's no need to do that. This is just quickly so y'all can see better what I'm doing. And this is just a simple pencil. We're not doing the Prismacolor. That's going to be last on our list, actually. Our card is 5 3/8 inches tall and 4 1/8 wide, and this snow person is just a little bit shy of that. So if you're drawing your own, it would do about a 5 by 4 inch space. You can also make your card bigger or smaller than mine. I believe I chose an A3, but my notes aren't next to me. But I chose something that fits into an envelope you can already buy at the store. Since we're making the card, it's nice to pick up a stock envelope. I'm going fast here, so my lines are looking a little crazy. I like to move my paper when I draw as well. Even though I'm just retracing lines, it still just helps. Okay, so we've got our snow person. Yeehaw. We're going to paint and then cut, and then we'll do our paper stuff. So while this is drying, we'll get into the paper. Clear everything off, make sure you've got your palette, some paper towel, your paint, and your paint water. Pro tip, keep your drinking water away from your watercolor water because it is no fun dipping your paintbrush into your drinking water. Definitely have done that. So I'm gonna wet my brush. I'm just grabbing a Filbert, small one. This is a 6. And we're gonna do these light little shadows first. So a lot of times light has, let's make sure you can see my whole palette. Our shadows aren't just straight gray, they have a purple tinge to them because the sunshine is yellow. Make sure you can see here. Okay. So I'm grabbing a light purple. And I like to grab more water. And I'm grabbing a light gray, and we're going to mix this together. And I'll have a wet brush. I'll go back in my pot, pull some paint out, and mix on my palette. Okay, I like this color. I like to test on my paper. I like to do a little testing over here. Okay, I like this tone, but it's too dark. So I'm gonna go in and add some white. And I'm just gonna keep pulling more paint into this little mix I have here. Check it. A little dark still. Pull more white and pull more water, so that'll lighten it up. Okay, that's nice. It's just a light shadow. It's snow, but we just want to show some kind of direction. So in this little snow person, I'm kind of pretending that our light is kind of coming from above a little bit to the left. So in this melting, we're gonna throw some shadowing, you know, underneath where the roundness of the snowballs are. We're gonna have a little shadow and just kind of create just some shadows to make it look like it's three-dimensional. So I'm not being precious. I am staying away from the edges further than I would in the one I drew because I don't want to pull watercolor onto my pencil line because it'll bleed the lead. So another reason for when y'all draw yours to keep a lighter line. Not being precious. I'm gonna grab some more water, thin it out. Filling in this little melty area. Creating just these little lines that denote that there's some volume. Little chin. So you can go add like a tiny shadow underneath the hat. And then an arm. Underneath the hat as well. I'm running out of paint here. I can mix more, but I think by the time it dries. So we've got, balancing the light here, we've got just a little bit of shadow. So let's start adding some more fun. And you know what, this looks a little too harsh for me, so I'm gonna dip my brush in water, dab a little bit, and then see if I can pull some of the harshness away from this line. It out a little bit. Okay. Too far. Now she's got a fragile shadow. Okay, so I'm gonna really move this brush around in water, make sure it's got a lot of the pigment off, and then I'm drying the brush on the paper towel. I'm gonna put this aside. And I decided this would have a bright pink hat, so we'll mix that, but you can choose whatever you want. Let's grab another Filbert. It's a smaller, this is a 4. And we're gonna start making this pink. Like this, it's a bit of a bright magenta. It's a little cool. So let's see, let's mix this. Let's grab this pink. A nice cool petal for their base. And just get some water in the pot to start pulling this pigment out onto our palette. So right now I'm just transferring. I'm kind of just building our little base to start color mixing from. Okay, that's looking nice. I'm gonna go grab, and I wash my brush every time I go grab a new pot because we want to mix it on the palette, not our actual, my palette, not my paint palette. Okay. Oh yeah, now we're getting some pigment. That's nice. Go ahead and test and see what that looks like. That's super pigmented. I love that. Let's go ahead and take that and fill in our heart really gently. Okay. I'm gonna put this aside because this is pigmented, but we're gonna use it for the details. I'm gonna wash my brush and go grab that lighter pink we started with. So every time I go to my pot, I make sure I rinse my brush so we can go back. And then we're gonna start a little second area over here. for this base layer of our beanie. And you can use this, how we paint the beanie, you can use with any color you want. So if you want your to be a blue beanie, you can do the same thing here. So we're gonna do a lighter shade of our color, this being the light pink, and we're just gonna do a wash. So we're just gonna fill the whole little hat. We'll let it dry, and then we'll come back on top with our details. In this, we used a darker, more pigmented color for the details. Okay, little pink beanie wash, let that dry. Rinse your brush. While that's drying, I'm going to grab a nice orange for the nose and a smaller brush. I have a little 2 round, or no, this is a 1 round. You can use a teeny round Filbert, but you know, a 0, a 1, something very small, since our nose isn't very big. And apologies that PDF did not make it online. So we will have that when this goes online tomorrow so y'all can download. But I also recommend drawing your own. So all I did was pull this orange. I think it's a perfect carrot orange. If your palette doesn't have this orange, we can go ahead and mix one here in a second. But no matter what palette you have, you can make any color. I'm just doing a fill here and letting it dry. Okay. So let's say we only had something like this light orange, kind of yellow orange in our palette. I would put some down on my palette. And then if I didn't have this color, I would grab something like a nice warm red. I would grab just a touch of this red over here and then mix. And that starts to get us close. And this is nice and yellow still, so I would just grab a little more. But when you're adding in colors like this, it's easy to overdo it. Go too far. Okay, let's go over here. It's looking nice and carroty. So if you didn't have it, you can always mix it. And you can always start small if you're, you know, not comfortable on how things may look together. Just grab a little bit of paint from each pot and start mixing, because that's how you learn. Okay. Rinse, rinse, rinse your brushes. When I'm done with the brush, I rinse them really well, put them down on my paper towel, which is right off screen here. And then we always wash our brushes right after we're done working with them. So as soon as I jump off with y'all, I'm gonna go run to the sink and wash my brushes bristle down. I take them to a utility sink and bathroom sink if you don't have that. And make sure the water is running down, because we don't want the paint going into our actual brush. We want the water going down. I take a little natural dish soap and just gently rub the soap on our brushes, get all that pigment off. I'll swirl it on my hands and then just let it rinse. And then I'll take a little bit of paper towel to dab dry, let them dry down on the sink. Okay, so I can tell by looking that our hat is pretty dry. We can tell there's no light, you know, there's no water kind of moving. You don't see any kind of shine, and I can quickly tap with my hands. Yep, that's dry. So it's okay now to go ahead and paint on top of it. Watercolor doesn't take long to dry, but the more water you have in it, right? If we really took a lot of water and had something, you know, like this, where it's just barely any kind of tint and we wanted to do a wash, you'd really like have to give it a little more time when you wanted to go on top of it. Also, the more water you have on your paper, the more likely it is to ripple. Even though we're using nice watercolor paper, it's another feature of, you know, balancing pigmentation and layering. Okay, let's clean that brush that we just grabbed. Let's get a I've got this round number 1 again. You can use a round filbert, but just something small, whatever you like to use. Also, when we're learning to paint, there's, with anything creative, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. So if you don't have a certain type of brush, my teeny filbert that I used early is dirty and in the other room, so I'm just using this instead. There's a lot of ways to make marks. So remember, we already mixed this kind of darker pigmented magenta. We're going to pick it up. So I just had a wet brush, and even though this already dried, boom, we got paint again. Okay, so let's pull it over here. It looks good. I'm just going to make a little bit more for myself so we can draw some really nice details. Grabbing more water. I'm going to grab more of this darker magenta. Just transfer it. It's looking nice. Clean my brush, go back and get that lighter pink. This has got more white in it, so it gives us more opacity than this nice kind of raspberry magenta does. Reds in any kind of paint, they're really hard to make even still. So generally, red house paint, red anything, they will generally be more sheer than your other colors. So it's nice. Sometimes you have to add white just to get it to be more opaque. So we're using this lighter pink because it has more white. And I didn't want the details to be as dark. Okay, this looks nice. Let's test it. I like that. I'm just going to take some of this and add some kind of ribbing details. The shadow here. Along the little rail line. And then I'm going to pretend these are like a little pom-pom. So I'm just going to get some more of this paint and make like a fun little starburst effect. I'm going to make this even more opaque. So I'm going to grab and just start another second. Not second, but an even more opaque, more pigmented section of this magenta color here. Since I forgot when I was drawing, show the camera that I actually didn't want this line to be this hard, so I'm going to get more opaque paint so we don't really see this circle. But again, when y'all trace this, you can be delicate with your pencil line. Oops, I got too much water. You can see though, right, this light magenta is really kind of sheer, so it's nice to add something with some white to give it more opacity. We're gonna let this dry. So I'm just gonna pull away the color I already put down. If it's not dry, we'll come back and add more detail. And we'll paint these hands. Arms. I'm rinsing quite well the same brush, drying it on paper towel, and we're gonna go in and get just a nice brown. Let's see what this looks like. This is pretty over here, but it's a little cool. Whatever color stick you like, but I think I like this. I'm gonna put it over here, and I'm gonna grab some of this warm brown as well. Yes, looks nice. And again, you won't have dark lines like I do. So you can just go ahead and go right on top of your trace and get the little stick arms. Maybe it might be cute if you add another like nub, like it's, you know, a real, from a real branch. Okay, looks like I need a little more. Need to mix more, right? Because this is losing its opacity. So I'm just gonna go redo what I did. Grab a little more. And I kind of like that my PDF didn't show up. Hopefully y'all see how easy it is to draw whatever you want to draw and transfer it to your paper. So that gives you a little confidence that it's not precious. And my PDF will be on the YouTube video tomorrow if you want to use it, but absolutely draw your own. It's just a couple of circles and some details. So we're going to look at adding more detail to this. It looks like it's honestly still a little wet. I can see the shine. And now that I'm really close, I can see that the paper is still a little moist. So we're going to wait. And we're going to grab our pencil. So everything else here is pretty dry. Even these little stick arms I can tell are dry. And I'm going to start tracing our outline. Alrighty, this is very thick again because I want to be able to see on Zoom, but when you're trying it yourself, it really makes it come together. I love the texture it provides. It really picks up the texture of our nice watercolor paper. Needs a sharpener, but mine is out of range, so I will grab a very thin. Oops. What I love about these type of pencils as well, which I didn't do for this one, but I normally do, is I also sharpen both ends. And so you can have a dull side and a sharp side at the same time. It's really nice. You can kind of, depending on how you want your line to go, quickly switch it. Again, my sharpener is a little far away from me at the moment. Those eyes, like they're made of coal. I'm not moving the paper as much as I normally would because I want to stay on within the camera, but I do really like moving your paper. You know, it just helps things like this curve. Make the curves in the paper come to you so you get a nice line instead of trying to do something at an awkward angle and you may not end up liking how it looks. Okay, so we've got this little snow person. This is looking drier. I can see there's less water over here. I'm gonna grab my brush, the same pointy one we were using, the round. And I'm gonna grab this nice lavender straight from the pot. Really get in there. That's opaque, that's nice. And add a little bit of this detailing on top. I'm just grabbing more and more water to really get So when you do yours, you won't have a circle outline like mine will. Have our little snow person, and we're going to set them aside and let them dry and get to the fun paper part of this. Close up the palette. All right. We've got a cutting mat. We love to see it. We've got our paper. So let's make our paper spring. That's how it pops up. I'm grabbing this blue. These come in 12 by 12 inches. And all I did was cut a long strip. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. 1 inch by 12 inches. We'll start with that. 1 inch by 12 inches. We'll see my line. And now I'm going to take my metal ruler, my utility blade. Only have it as much exposed, the blade is much exposed that you need. You know, we're not cutting everything really thick, so you don't need this much blade. Just keep it safe, just barely exposed. I'm going to line up. It's hard to see with all these lights on. Line up my line. I'm pressing down pretty firm because I don't want my ruler to move. I don't want to cut myself. And I've got my blade, and I'm just going to press my blade against my ruler. Okay. Always retract your blade as soon as you're done. Get into the habit. Just save yourself when you live with some pain. I'm gonna go ahead and cut another strip just like this, actually. So we can make a really tall one, just to make a really tall spring. We're making paper springs, which is how this snow person pops up, right? Hooray. Boing, boing, boing. So we're making this paper spring. So we've got our paper one, and I'm going to make another one just so we can see. We'll have many examples of how this folds. When you're cutting stuff like this, try and stand on top as much as you can. Your material, you know, cutting things far away from you, you don't have leverage, it's harder. So I'm really kind of on top of my paper, on top of my ruler, pressing down, just minimizing accidents. Pressing down quite firm on my ruler. I treat cutting paper like I do cutting gypsum or plaster or foam core. Respect your tools, you still have a blade in your hand. Okay, so we've got these two strips. And I'm going to make them perpendicular to each other. I'm taking the matte side together because I want more friction. I want the glue to stick. So now we're going to grab our super glue. This is the super glue portion of the class. And try and open it. There we go. This is cyanoacrylate. It is toxic. It does bond quickly, so be mindful and don't let any small children use it. This is adult stuff. It also has quite a strong fume, so do not inhale it. It is not food. Okay, so I just got a healthy amount here. I'm going to line this up and press down. We want to press down pretty firm because this is the start of our spring. It bonds quickly, and now we've got our two pieces adhered. So I'm going to take the one in my right hand, and I'm going to fold it over itself. Okay. Now I'm going to take the one that was on the left and fold it over itself. So kind of like making a braid where you do every one on the outside. This is just every other one. I am just folding these papers over itself, one after the other. And we're building our spring. Now this is going to be a very tall spring, but that's okay, it's really fun. You get to choose how tall you want to make it. I actually only did one that was my spring was, 1 inch by 6 inches. So I had 2 pieces. For all you visual fans out here, 1 inch by 6 inches. There were 2 pieces, right? So we had 2 of those, and that's what we used to then glue together. And then fold, fold, and rinse and repeat. But this one is just longer. So you can make a spring as long as your heart desires. Anyway, when you're ready to be done, I'm just going to clip this off. My scissors are out of range. Okay, so I'm just going to carefully cut this. Okay, so I'm just going to take the last 2, grab our glue, got brush a healthy amount. A dot, smaller than a dime. Quickly recap this when you're done. It smells terrible, but it's very effective and it will dry. So great. Recap and then press firm for quite a few seconds. 5. Awesome. And now we have a spring. Look at this paper spring. It's so much fun. And that's our pop-up mechanism. Paper and glue, gotta love it. You also can do this with a stapler, but it's a little more cumbersome and you have to have one that can really get into these small areas. A lot of people don't have a low profile stapler, so I went with glue. Okay, we've got a spring. Let's go get our snow person. So we know this is dry, it's not shiny. We can see that our paint is looking nice and matte. So now we're going to take our handy dandy blade and cut this out. When I cut things out like this is a big sheet of paper. I like to cut my thing out from its surroundings to make it a lot easier. I'll show you what I mean. Crack the blade every single time. Okay, so now it's a lot smaller, so it'll be a lot easier for us to maneuver around. You can use scissors as well to cut this, but this is, we've already got our mat. This is kind of a utility blade class, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. So I left, looks like about 1/8 of an inch around, just to give a little breathing room for our lines. Maybe I'll do both. No, I don't know where my scissors are, so they didn't make it here. We'll do the whole thing with X-Acto. Okay. Grab your snow person and just pick where you want to start. I'm going to start about 1/8 inch away. I kind of like to do this. I'll just pull it away. And so I find it's easier if you to cut things out, especially with curves, if you kind of break it down and break down the piece into smaller areas. You can do one consecutive cut, but you don't have to, so why bother? Okay, let's say I don't like this cut, no big deal. I can just come back. Right, and if you wanted to make it curvier, you can do that. I like to move the paper when I cut curves. I find it's helpful. And you can absolutely use scissors. if you want to try this but don't want to test on the snowman you painted, I fully support taking a scrap, drawing something curvy, and testing that out as well. That's always a great idea to try a new tool, not on your piece. I also like to, hard to see on our Zoom camera, but I can see some of my lines haven't cut all the way through. I'm looking at the back. That's how I can tell. So then I can tell where I want to run the blade over again. This is definitely true for when we're cutting foam core with utility blade. A lot of the times, you know, our cut doesn't go through all the time. So flipping that over and checking, very helpful. I'm going to quickly cut this out so we can get the rest of our card made. Okay. Y'all will be more precious than I am with this, but we're going to quickly finish this cutting out so we can get to our paper cards. Now you absolutely can use a blank card and adhere your watercolor person to a blank card and even do it with your pop-up spring. That works, but since we already got the paper to make the spring, and I love how, you know, kind of really unique and beautiful these are, let's do the whole thing. Let's make the whole card. It's such a, you know, we're doing a keepsake. You didn't just buy this, so you may as well continue on. But no shame in the game. You need to buy a card. Or also, if you already have a couple blank cards that have been sitting in your house for a while, then you have a little purpose. You can get them ready for winter and holidays for a little snow person. I was going so fast, I didn't press down hard enough. So I just got to go over again. That's what I get for speeding through. If I'm running low on time, I am going to run off screen and get scissors. Ah. We're not sure where the craft scissors are. These quickly. We get the gist. We cut out our person. Oops, sorry, I'm off screen. So sorry. I cannot hold and cut while on screen. So I'll go grab my knife really quick. We'll just quickly cut her out. And again, make sure that this is dry because, you know, we really handle this. And you can check by holding up to light, making sure that you don't see shiny. Our watercolor dries matte. And then once we are pretty sure it's dry, go ahead and do a little finger pat test with a dry, clean finger to make sure you're not pulling up any paint. And that's a good indicator that it's dry. Okay, so ignore the rough cut, but yours will look gorgeous. You've got your spring nice and dry. And then all we did was cut out 2 rectangles for our cards. I'll grab this glitter since we haven't touched it. And for everybody visual, we are making a rectangle. And this is where our fold is. And it's 5 3/8 tall. By 8 1/4 So the whole rectangle is 8 1/4, which means when we fold it in half, this half is 4 1/8. So we're gonna need one fancy glitter of 5 3/8 by 8 1/4. So quickly cut that out. I'm using the one I already used. These 12 by 12s actually make 2 cards, which is nice, right? The sheets we buy straight from the store from Michael's makes enough for 2 cards. That's lovely. So I'm not even breaking into my second sheets. I'm going to quickly mark this up. For the sake of time, I'm going to skip our blue inside, but all I did was cut this out, cut out our exterior glitter. Crack my blade. Right, here's the exterior of our card. I fold it in half, line it up nice. Once I'm sure it's there, fold it, and then I take my ruler and I like to press down so it gets a nice, really crisp edge. Oh yeah, crispy. Inside of a card, hooray! If you don't want to do a color on the inside, that's totally up to you. But all I did was cut the exact same size, 5 3/8 by 8 1/4, and all I did was glue it on the inside. Using our super glue, I put a decent amount, and then I just pressed down really hard, and then I folded them together. So that's how I made our card. And then I just took our hole punch, this adorable hole punch. So we didn't have to do the dirty work of cutting these beautiful, intricate little shapes. All I did was take our scrap paper and just punch them out. So just make sure you use these on the counter because you need something to push back, because these do kick out a lot of force. And then I forgot, you have to push your paper in fairly deep. There you go. And then it has this little catcher where you just open it up and get all your little shapes. Love that. And this was the last thing I did, was adhere them. So once I glued my 2 pieces of paper together, I then adhered my person. So we're going to do that together. First, made sure, yep, everything fits, it'll close, double check before we glue. Yes, great, love it. Then I picked on my snow person about the middle. And so we're going to adhere that first. Whoops, just throwing glue. To make things really stick, if you put glue on both sides of it, it's called laminating, which doesn't really make any sense, but it's also the same term we use for woodworking, excuse me. Tighten up this glue because it's stinky. Glue to glue, and then press down quite well. Fine. Okay, lots of force, spring adhered. And then again, gonna double check, where is the center? We're all about measuring twice and cutting once. Honestly, I took my pencil once I knew where I wanted to do it, looked underneath and made myself some little marks so I knew exactly where to put my spring, because it would be such a pain to glue this and have it sticks out. So now that I know exactly where I'm going to glue it, I'm going to do the same thing over here. And everything I use, I got at Michael's. It's on the class list and it will be available on the YouTube video tomorrow. along with the PDF with the drawing of a snowman. And I really apologize for that not including. That was a little technical error. Okay. I'm gonna press down really hard. We're gonna count. Okay. Love it. So you know how to glue. You've been doing it for this whole time now. So all I did was then take my snowflakes. I like to lay them out on my card, kind of compose them, and then that looks nice, and then went ahead and really carefully put a teeny dot of glue in the middle of the snowflake and then pressed. If you are concerned about the glue sticking to your fingers, which it will if you're not careful, you can use something that won't make a mark, like maybe the back of a paintbrush to push down for you. Because if you put too much glue, it'll come out and it'll stick to your fingers. And then you've really got to go wash your hands really, really well. So use that, press it down just like we did. I use the opposite colors in here, and I did that last, right? So after I adhered our little snow person, then I went in and kind of filled, well, where do I want these snowflakes? And then I put them around and left enough space for a message, right? This is your card, so you should write whatever you want. It's the holidays. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And she fits. Where are you going? So much fun. I love making paper springs. This is something you can use for a ton of projects, not just holiday cards, but this is the beginning gateway drug to doing pop-up books, which is super fun, and anything. If you know kids, act like a kid, are a kid, paper springs are great. So highly recommend if you're an adult like me. Okay. So fabulous people, thank you so much. See, exactly. You gotta tighten this thing because it's stanky, but it's fabulous. And I will make sure the PDF gets attached tomorrow, so you can trace this little shorty. But I really encourage you to draw your own. This is your card. You're already watercoloring. You're already cutting paper. You may as well just do the whole thing. But you got this. And then I would love to answer any questions while we've got a few more moments.
We only received one question so far,
Great.
and that was how long does it typically take for watercolor to dry?
Oh, not long at all. A few minutes, right? We were doing this live while it was drying and it didn't take long. And again, it depends on how much water we put, right? So remember when we made this like wash, there was so much water, it will really take a lot longer than something that was really more pigmented like this. But again, you know, look at your materials, look at what you're painting and look at it and see, you know, is it shiny or matte? Am I seeing the paper start to ripple? That means it's really wet. Okay, maybe I need to cool it on how much water I'm using. And once it looks matte, once it's looking okay, then with a clean hand, you can touch and make sure no paint is coming up. So that's how I check. It normally doesn't take more than a few minutes, but depending on your paint, depending on your paper and your water, you know, it's pretty quick. So it's not almost instant like acrylic is. It's not like oil where it's like get ready to wait days. It's still it's not instantaneous, but it's a few minutes. But always just check, because you know, this is real life. It's a medium. There's a lot of variables, but look before you grab. I think that's the moral of the story, but only a few minutes.
No other questions came in, so I think that was the only one.
Awesome. Oh, I think maybe one just popped up. Sorry. Now that I'm looking at the chat, Chanel is amazing.
Yeah.
It looks everything for me.
Is there a different kind of glue that can be used? I'm worried about the odor.
Okay, cyanoacrylate. Yeah, you can use other glues. You can honestly use Elmer's, but this is just such a wonderful instant bond. It just gets the job done. Since we're asking it to do a lot, you know, we want it to hold our spring together, secure the springs, and then pop up multiple times. You can use Elmer's. I wouldn't use like hot glue because you're going to get the strings, like that's too intricate. But a more kid safe glue would be fine. I just would really wait a long time before you put the spring on your card. Just really make sure it's dry. So that's just going to add some time, but you can use it. And then the other thing with Elmer's, or something a little more less toxic, frankly, it leaves those marks, it leaves those lines, and so you kind of see it. And with this super glue, there's no thickness gained. So definitely chose this for a reason, but I understand, like, I kept wanting to be mindful that this is not something that little kids should use. So yeah, you can use more of an Elmer's, but if you're able, this is also something just really good to have in the house. Sometimes you just need a good super glue. Lovely. Anything else? Thank you all so much. Again, apologies for the PDF, but that'll be up on YouTube tomorrow. But again, draw your own snow person. You can do this. It's gonna be great. Boing.
There are no other questions.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you all so much. I really appreciate you, and have an amazing holiday season. And I hope you make lots of things.